What if I told you the most dangerous food for your aging kidneys isn't red meat, salt, or processed snacks, but a simple garden vegetable sitting innocently on your plate right now? Most people past 60 have been warned about sodium and sugar. They watch their blood pressure, they avoid fast food. But a quieter, far more deceptive threat sits in the crisper drawer. It looks like health. It tastes like nourishment, yet inside a body that has crossed into its 7th, 8th, or 9th decade, this trusted ingredient can ignite a slow-burning biochemical fire that scars, clogs, and smothers the delicate filters keeping you alive. The terror lies in the silence. Kidneys do not scream. They whisper through fatigue, a little swelling, a bit of mental fog, signals so subtle they are almost always dismissed as simply getting older. By the time the lab results reveal the truth, significant damage is already permanent. I have watched vibrant, independent seniors walk into a clinic feeling slightly off and leave with a diagnosis that shattered their world. They all uttered the same confused lament. "I thought I was eating healthy." That heartbreaking moment ends now. Today, you will uncover the 5 vegetables quietly dismantling kidney function and the essential truth every older adult in this country must hear to protect their vitality. Before we start, if you have not yet joined this community, tap the subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a guide crafted specifically for your well-being. If what you hear resonates, type 1 in the comments. If it misses the mark, type 0 to steer me in a better direction. Let us begin with the first deceptive green. 1. Spinach. The celebrated leafy green that morphs into a kidney assailant after 60. For generations, American mothers placed spinach proudly on the dinner table. It fills ceramic salad bowls, whirls inside morning blenders, and sits steamed beside a lean cut of protein as the virtuous choice. But for older adults, particularly anyone past middle age, this familiar leaf conceals a perilous chemistry that few understand. Hidden within its vibrant emerald cells lies an extraordinarily dense concentration of oxalates. Inside an aging kidney, these compounds are not benign passengers. They form microscopic, jagged crystals, sharper than grains of sand, capable of lacerating, embedding, and obstructing the nephrons that purify your blood. The horror is the quiet progression. When oxalate crystals begin to amass, your kidneys issue no pain alert. They send no distress signal as inflammation creeps through the capillary networks that once filtered effortlessly. Instead, the deterioration is stealthy. Deposit by deposit, week by week, the filtration pores gum up, and toxins that should have exited the body linger and circulate. By the time you feel the exhaustion, notice the puffy ankles, or register the climbing blood pressure, the structural injury is already established. For older bodies, the risk compounds dramatically. Kidney perfusion drops naturally over time. The organ's capacity to neutralize acidic waste weakens. Common prescriptions like water pills, blood pressure blockers, and glucose regulators further erode renal reserve. A dose of oxalates that a 30-year-old clears without effort can trigger a crisis in a 70-year-old. When a senior adds raw handfuls to a salad or liquefies it daily into a green drink, they are drenching their kidneys in a chemical load those organs can no longer process. I recall a 74-year-old widow from the Southeast named Helen. Devastated by losing her spouse, she devoted herself to wellness. Each sunrise, she blended a large spinach smoothie, certain she was fortifying her body. 8 months later, she rushed to the emergency room doubled over. Scans revealed dense clusters of oxalate stones occupying both kidneys. Her filtration rate had plummeted, sentencing her to invasive procedures and permanent monitoring. She never suspected the bright green drink was the saboteur. This is the bitter paradox. Spinach can accelerate renal aging, multiply stone risk, stoke internal inflammation, and stealthily nudge an older adult toward chronic kidney disease, a state that drains stamina, dulls cognition, weakens the cardiac muscle, and in its final stages, threatens autonomy and life. If you are past 60, and particularly if you manage hypertension or blood sugar, spinach is not a casual salad base. It demands respect, careful portioning, and intelligent spacing. Your kidneys have labored loyally for a lifetime. They deserve safeguarding, not silent punishment wrapped in a health halo. And if a universally praised leaf can hide such peril, wait until you learn about the next staple. A food even more ubiquitous on American tables, yet capable of overwhelming your filtration system through a completely different and far more cunning mechanism. If you are still tracking with me and finding value here, please signal with a number 1 in the comments so I know you are present. Now, let us move to the second hidden danger. 2. Potatoes. The soft, familiar comfort that stealthily burdens aging kidneys and pushes older adults toward a dangerous cliff. Potatoes are stitched into the fabric of daily life. They appear mashed at holiday feasts, baked alongside a weeknight roast, and fried golden at roadside diners. For decades, they have been viewed as gentle, safe, a humble staple. But for seniors, especially those navigating rising blood pressure, creeping insulin resistance, or early nephron decline, the potato transforms into a covert aggressor that slowly undermines kidney integrity in a manner few ever foresee. The deception is the texture. They feel mild and soothing on the tongue, yet internally they launch a metabolic tsunami. Their dense starch converts almost instantly into glucose, flooding the bloodstream with a sugar velocity that older vessels cannot tolerate. When blood glucose shoots upward, the kidneys are conscripted into brutal overwork, far beyond their age-adjusted capacity. The glomeruli, those intricate filtering globes, are delicate. They operate as microscopic sieves, but thick, sticky, sugar-laden blood strains these fragile membranes with every cardiac pulse. Across months and years, this repetitive battering stiffens the vascular walls, etches scar tissue into the filtration surface, and accelerates a silent process called diabetic nephropathy, even in those without a formal diabetes label, but whose aging metabolism no longer handles carbohydrates as it once did. Picture pushing thick maple syrup through a worn paper filter day after day. Eventually, it clogs, it tears, it collapses. That is precisely what occurs in the renal architecture of older adults who lean on potatoes as a daily filler, convinced they are eating a simple, innocent food. I once cared for a 79-year-old man from the Midwest named Martin, a tender-hearted soul living alone since his wife's passing. Potatoes were his consolation. Simple to prepare, soft to chew, cheap to buy. He ate them nearly daily, whipped on Monday, oven-baked on Tuesday, simmered in a stew by Thursday. He experienced no pain, no urgent warning, until a routine blood draw revealed his kidney numbers had fallen off a cliff. His creatinine was climbing, and his filtration rate was dipping into alarming territory. He stared at me completely bewildered and murmured, "They're just potatoes." That single phrase captured the tragedy, besieging countless seniors. The foods they instinctively trust the most can betray them the swiftest. The destruction potatoes unleash is not confined to the kidneys. As filtration sputters, toxins accumulate in the plasma, waste the renal system can no longer expel. Seniors develop a bone-deep weariness that rest cannot fix, leg swelling that tightens shoes, escalating blood pressure, brain fog, and eventually a frightening decline in cardiac performance if the cascade is not interrupted. This slide drags them toward dialysis dependence, frailty, and the surrender of the freedom they struggled a lifetime to preserve. If you are past 60, particularly if you manage hypertension or variable glucose, potatoes must be treated with caution, not nostalgia. They are not a gentle filler. They are a metabolic load your aging kidneys may no longer be equipped to carry. And if a simple spud can push renal function toward the brink so silently, brace yourself for the next vegetable, one that appears even more vibrant and wholesome, yet can disrupt your heart's rhythm and overburden your kidneys in a wholly distinct and far more startling fashion. 3. Tomatoes. The bright, juicy garden staple that quietly disturbs cardiac rhythm, overloads renal balance, and becomes a hidden hazard after 60. Tomatoes radiate innocence. Plump, ruby red, refreshing, and gracing nearly every American meal. They rest on sandwich slices, swim in marinara, and are diced into fresh salsas. For countless older adults, tomatoes register as the safest possible option, a water-rich, light ingredient that complements almost anything. But what most seniors never hear, and what I desperately want every person past 60 to grasp, is that tomatoes can turn profoundly treacherous when kidney output begins to dwindle, when prescription drugs pool in the bloodstream, and when the heart no longer regulates electrolytes with youthful precision. The core threat is their generous potassium load. Potassium is vital within a narrow window, but aging kidneys progressively lose the knack for excreting excess amounts. What was once perfectly manageable suddenly becomes menacing. As potassium builds silently, the electrical circuitry of the heart begins to destabilize. Some older adults might catch a fluttering sensation in the chest. Others feel lightheaded.